Hi, I'm Jolijn Santegoed. I'm a board member of the European Network of Users and Survivors of Psychiatry, ENUSP. My organization in the Netherlands is called Mind Rights, but initially we started as a protest group, Rage Against Isolation. And basically, at some point, I was a student and I got notified that another person was locked up in solitary confinement for the same unjustified reasons as I had experienced. And I was so angry. So I thought I have to go there. And eventually, what I did was make handmade leaflets and spread them all over the environment. Um, because to me, it was clear that this could not be tolerated anymore and it had to be exposed. So, and because I saw no way to challenge this via any official channel, I thought I'll make it public. So that's why I hang all the leaflets. And the next day it was in the newspaper. So it was actually effective. And this was one way of making my voice heard. And I got a lot of responses also after that. So it started spinning off and people started to join up and we became a movement also. And yeah, this is really inspiring. UNCRPD, it's the UN Convention from the United Nations. It's a human rights convention about the human rights of persons with disabilities. And initially, I also thought like, does that include us? But yes, it does include us. It's actually quite clear that also persons with psychosocial problems and psychosocial disabilities experience barriers in the interaction with the society. So, and these barriers have various natures. So it can be physical barriers like locked wards, but it can also be attitudinal barriers such as stigma, discrimination, exclusion. So there's a lot of things in this UN convention that are actually very important for anybody with any kind of disability or problem or barrier in their life. And the first time when I read this UN convention, I was thinking like, whoa, these are legal words and I don't really know what it means. Of course, I know what are the basic human rights, but I learned that for mental health care, usually there's this exception. So I was looking through and through, where's the exception? But there was none. So that was a good sign. And then eventually, when I learned to understand, it's actually a brilliant treaty. It prohibits forced treatments. It says we have the right to freedom. We cannot be preventively detained. We cannot be drugged against our will. We cannot be fixed against our will. We have the right to be who we are, to go to the processes that we need to go through to to make the mistakes that are part of life and to learn from them. I must say that once I started as an activist and to speak out against forced psychiatric practices, that really empowered me. I really felt stronger by it, and uh, yeah, I think activism is a very important tool for me to rise in my strength because they wanted me to admit that forced treatment was whatever I needed, and I never wanted to admit it because it wasn't. And this is a point of tension that is so deep inside me. And now to be able to speak and to say it wasn't right and to actually have people hearing it. Because 20 years ago, I said the same things, but nobody was listening. They just closed the door. And right now, I say coercion is not right. And actually, people are more and more listening to it. And I think that itself is amazing. Even the recognition that is given by the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture, who agrees that solitary confinement should not be used on vulnerable people and that it can amount to ill treatment and torture. And for all the restraints and any treatment against their will, that amount to ill treatment and torture. I think so many years ago, none of us could have imagined this kind of recognition. And I think that is truly empowering to feel this, to feel real support, and to feel you're no longer alone facing this huge bureaucratic monster that is that for so many people seems impossible to change. Because I also know a lot of healthcare workers who don't agree to the practices that happen inside these hospitals, but they also need to be empowered. Because if you are just a student coming from your university full of great ideals and knowledge, and then they end up in the practice and they say, oh, there's no time to use all my knowledge and all the things I learned, I have to forget here for the sake of procedures and time and the routines, and they also get burned up. And so such a young student with ideals, they cannot compete with the seniors in the team who think they have more power. So there are so many power imbalances. Even the pharmaceutical industry, to mention one of the uh, conflicting powers that really pollute the healthcare sector, the mental healthcare sector, I should say. Um, and I think there's a lot of powers, so to say, but it's really empowering to see that there's finally support for the pain that so many users had to go through. There are several ways to use the UN Convention on different levels. So you can make everybody aware of it, and most people have respect for human rights, so they might actually take it into account in their further actions. Um, you can bring it in court cases. So if you make a complaint about your treatment, you can refer to the UN treaty. You can submit complaints to the UN under the special procedures, uh, and they can take a look at it and communicate with your government. And it's also possible to participate in shadow reporting, as we call it, to move closer to a world with human rights for all. I think there's so many things that each of us can do. Uh, for example, we can work on alternatives and building up the world we want to see. So that includes reforming laws and reforming court systems. It includes reforming hospitals and deinstitutionalization. It involves uh, giving voice to people who have been the subject of the treatment, to make them actually the guiding sources and the guiding experts in this field, because nothing about us without us. And we are, after all, the people who are receiving the care. So we can we can say if it's helpful or not. With the European network of users and ex-users of survivors of psychiatry, we started the campaign against the draft additional protocol to the Oviedo Convention, to stop forced treatments in Europe. And so we invite you to sign our petition. And if you want, you can become a member of ENASP. We have model letters on our website which can be sent to various authorities who are in need of more education about human rights and reforms to move away from forced treatments. There's so much to do to build up good practices and to dismantle bad practices. Yeah, it's so important to speak out and to contribute to the change, because the change doesn't happen automatically, and the power is not given away just like that. We really have to rise up together and to speak and to say our truth, because I learned that when you speak from the heart, many people understand and can feel what you talk about. And when you hear the stories of people who have been restrained, who have subjected to forced drugging, and you hear how much they suffered, it gives an opportunity to learn that we should not do that again, and that we should find alternatives. And people who lived through it, they know what helped them, and they know what brought change in their lives. So it offers such a valuable knowledge to work together on good practices and really change the world. And I think we all have a role to play in it.